Well, hello, folks. This is Top Gun here with you today. Welcome to Pulse Radio Live. Today, we've got a little fun for you here. Boom. All right, joining us is the Long Vacation from Power City, IO. Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and bring him in today so we can find out a little bit about this, yet again, another altcoin, Power City, and get to meet the Long Vacation. Until this point, he was always a lawn chair and a beach umbrella with a nice setting. And now today, I finally have gotten to see his face. Would you guys like to meet him as well? I bet so. Let's bring him on. Well, hello, the Long Vacation.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Not too bad. Yourself?
I had to stretch. I was folded up as a beach chair for too long, so I just had to stretch the back a little bit.
No, it's nice to actually get to see a face, put a face to the voice. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I've got to know you just a little bit, where when you guys first started coming out with the sacrifice, I know I talked to you a little bit on an AMA call, and I'm an overly friendly person, borderline stalker, so you agreed after seeing my references, aka restraining orders, to let me talk to you. And so, yeah, I managed to convince you to come on to my show and get bashed around. You're looking forward to it?
Yeah, no, this will be fun.
All right, perfect. So, yeah, we're going to talk about the Power City SAC, what they got right now, and what they're going to bring. So, let's get right into it. Number one, another sacrifice. Didn't I already give to the Make-A-Wish Foundation this year?
Yes, but each sacrifice is for a separate political statement. This is for free marketplace to be able to choose from what you want in the market versus having some central authority force feed you a single option.
All right. So that's the statement, and that gets us some reward points. So, yeah, that brings us to my next point. I don't want any promises about what you guys are bringing just yet. Let's talk about what you've got right now. Like, what have you got for us right now? So there are pretty much three things on this, right? So first off, what the heck is a core? Can you even explain it in one sentence? I dare you.
Ooh, okay. All right. The core is the central staking platform for Power City, where you will share in the revenue generated by the ecosystem of dApps and services in Power City.
Beautiful. That does sum it up nicely. All right. And so now you guys are bringing a bridge, and you're bringing two chains. But why are you being such a snob? Why only two?
There's at least two at launch. So we will announce exactly which ones, but we're planning more over time, at least two at launch.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. We'll hit the next point. You have really prepped for the speed dating round. I love it. All right. So, and then the other thing you've got for us, another NFT marketplace. You know, I hate rock JPEGs, right?
But okay, NFTs are the largest consumers of gas on Ethereum right now, and we want lots of activity in NFTs to be able to burn more pulse through all the fees that they generate. So it's good for everybody, actually.
All right. That is a good answer. Beautiful. We are plowing through these. This might be the first time I get through them in 5 minutes. All right. 6. Okay. All right. Oh, I misspelt that. That was supposed to be a now. Oh, so much for editing. You're fired, vacation. Promise me the moon. How long is your roadmap?
Well, I mean, we haven't put any hard dates on anything, so the roadmap is, technically infinite because we're always thinking of new things to add, new projects to add out there. So, it depends on which specific item you're talking about, to be honest.
Okay. So you guys are biting off a huge chunk of the pie, just ever evolving AI over here. All right. So now in the promises, you said more to come on the roadmap. I did see Polygon and BSC networks, but again, only two on there. Still sounds snobbish. Why being so selective?
We like the EVM chains, the Ethereum virtual machine chains. They get us. They like long walks, sunsets, and smooth jazz. They're our personality, right? No, they will allow us to bridge very quickly and easily new value on the Pulse chain. So we're targeting those, and we're targeting the ones with the largest volume first.
All right. Easier to build the bridges and more battle-tested designs. Beautiful. We
Yes.
love that in the RH community. Now, NRG, there has to be a better acronym. What's this thing? Validators and nodes are different.
They're actually very different, but a successful blockchain needs both to really operate properly. So, having good quality nodes to serve up your balances in your wallet, to serve up information on your DApp, are critical to just being able to operate DeFi on a blockchain.
All right. Beautiful. We're almost done through these, so just one more after this. So, okay, you guys have an accelerator, which sounds cool. I like going fast, but am I going to get a speeding ticket?
It'll do the Kessel running under 12 parsecs.
You know that's a measurement of distance, not time, right?
Yes.
All right. But I mean, the Solo story did go back at least and explain, whoa, the ship's crafty maneuverable, so it found a shortcut. Huh. Anyway, the nerds love that one. I was always a nerd too. Okay, so then we've got another metaverse. For the love of God, why?
So, metaverse means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We feel that if there's going to be something generating a lot of volume of transactions and adoption on any chain, it should be on Pulse Chain. Much better for Pulse Chain than Ethereum. Cheaper, faster, more efficient. Doing something on the blockchain is not going to wreck your wallet. So.
All right, beautiful. So these are basically the 10 major points. We got through the speed dating in 7 minutes. 10 points. You did them in less than a minute each. I am so proud of you. First guest that's actually gone that fast through these. So quickly here, we'll just remind everyone that you can cue some hate for the altcoins because we know you hate altcoins. And this is powercity.io, and their Telegram is tmapowercity.io. And it's a trap. If you didn't know, the mods have muted you, and now we can field some serious Q&A, which says Q and Q. Wow, I really got to double check these before I go.
Well, no, it's just answering questions with questions. We don't provide answers.
Exactly. That's exactly how it's done. So, what we're going to do here is we'll circle through and we'll take each one of these points. We'll look at the questions. Try to keep your questions on these points because we're going to try and keep these topics specific. We'll plow through all 10 of these in a lot of detail. At the end of that, we'll actually go through and we'll really take the questions and answers, see if you guys want to take us some other directions, whatever the long vacation's comfortable talking about here. So just for a moment here. Before we dive into these, because we got through that so quick and nicely, I'd like to talk quickly about the Power City team. So just a little bit of background. How did you guys as a team meet? And how did the idea to provide infrastructure services for Web 3.0 for Richard Hart hit you guys in the head like, the flux capacitor moment for Doc Emmett Brown?
Well, a lot of us joined the Hex or Pulse Chain community very early on. I've actually been moderating the Pulse Chain Com Telegram group for about a year now, if not more. And we were all very not influential, but very involved early on, brainstorming what's going to happen with the fork of Ethereum. What's going to work, what's not going to work, how will liquidity come over, how will the liquidity have to be rebalanced, and how, what projects would be able to work, what might break in the process, and really trying to kind of brainstorm a lot of that. Several of us were also in the Pulse planning room for Richard Hart, kind of helping brainstorm some of the things that he was asking, select members of the community to help with. So we were really trying to, figure out all the game theory behind what's going on with the Pulse chain. What's it going to be all about, right? And what can it be? And we got to talking more and more about, hey, we'd love to be able to do these 4 or 5 things or, use these tools, but they're not going to be there. So what do we do? Do we go try to tell those developers, hey, Pulse Chain's coming, come build your apps there? Or maybe we try to build something ourselves that's a little more focused towards the community and a little bit less backed by VCs looking to just extract value from Pulse Chain. And we saw the opportunity, right? The opportunity is to be a first mover to build on a new blockchain that potentially has millions of users on day one, and to build things that can be designed to really help drive adoption and bring new value to that chain. So it made a lot of sense. And we started with our first idea, which was really the core. The core went through many different iterations as we were brainstorming how to improve on the underlying technology. And it built out, right?
Nice.
It built out into more things and more things and more things. We found like, oh, well, we like this DeFi project over there too. And if we did this, that, and the other, that would really tie well into what we already have over here. And we found all these really creative ways to link them all together and have them interdependent and interrelated with each other in a very cohesive way. So it really is a tight knit ecosystem, not just a bunch of forks of existing projects standing on themselves that happen to share a name. We're really designing these things to work well with each other, to be part of a tight, cohesive environment. And we're trying to drive things that will, push adoption of Pulse Chain, by the bridge, bringing new value onto the chain. We need more users. We need more, people to bring their money onto the chain, not just to trade around what's already forked over, right? And to generate more fees and transaction volume, because the more volume we generate on chain, the more attention, the rest of the crypto sphere will pay to Pulse Chain, and then start to give it the respect that it truly deserves.
Nice. No, I love that. Love that so much. I mean, the words that I've been using when I talk to people. So, I mean, I can run my sales pitch by you and you can just stomp on it and correct it. But the way I describe it is people, all right, what do they got? And I'm like, well, an NFT marketplace, a bridge, but they've got this NRG. What's this going on? So the node service, the ability to run a system state of the program for the network. It's not running as a validator, but it lets you just simply see the network's up. It's doing this. You can do your testing on it. You can build your apps on it. So the way I see it is you guys went and Field of Dreams it. Oh, if you build it, they will come. And you built a playground for the devs, for the developers that ran away from Ethereum, so that they'll come back to Pulse Chain, a native programming language they're used to, and build more.
That's definitely the goal. The energy node platform is a little bit further out in the pipeline, right? When we were talking about, the timeline on different things, I'd say that one would definitely be further out than close. Right now, we're working on the core, the transformer cross-chain swap, and the Pixel Park NFT marketplace. Those are the first three things that are currently in development, very soon going into testing, internal testing, and then audit. And then after that, we have the Accelerator, which will have two components to it. One is focused on a automated liquid loans front end to allow you to run the haunted strategies on autopilot. And the other is a traditional automated yield compounder, kind of like Yearn or Beefy Finance or some of these others, where it will automatically compound liquidity providing or yield farming rewards. So for people who are providing liquidity, and plsx will be able to automatically compound those incentive tokens into more liquidity pool tokens and just keep building their position.
Okay. Beautiful. So now, I do see an answer in this first one, but in your words, so with the sacrifices, a lot of people get kind of concerned. Why didn't you just give us an airdrop? Why do we have to put more money into this? Like, can't you just drop the code? All kinds of little concerns like that come up. And so obviously you guys have your statement for the sacrifice, and you may get rewarded reward points, no expectation of the work of others.
Exactly.
But when deciding to build this project, obviously, like I see you guys are taking on a lot, but what was the weight or ideas versus a decision of just going with a free airdrop as opposed to a money gathering phase?
Well, I think Richard Hart kind of set a new standard in what he did for Pulse Chain and for PulseX, and even was talking about maybe doing another sacrifice that, later on for his wallet, right? So I think that he's kind of set a good example of a way to do this process, and be very aware of all of the different constraints around it, right? And all the things you have to kind of dance around from a legal, regulatory, financial point of view, to do this in as fair a manner as possible. And when we were trying to structure the sacrifice for Power City, our rule number one was to make this the most fair and balanced sacrifice event as possible for anything launching on Pulse Chain. And if you go to sacrificenow.io, you can see the structure that was laid out, and the fact that basically it's open until whenever Pulse Chain launches, and that gives people their timing to participate when they are able to. We're not forcing people to get in on day one, otherwise they get wrecked, right? And the other side of that is we're in a 1-to-1 ratio, one sacrifice point to each US dollar value sacrificed, and that's locked in through the end of sacrifice, right?
Wow.
So for the first 2 weeks, it was a 2-to-1 ratio that then kind of slowly, ramped down into 1-to-1, and then it was locked at 1-to-1 for the rest of the time. So if you happen to learn about Power City later, or if you needed some time to, gather some money before you want to make your political statement, right? You can do that. And there's no reason that just because you were a little bit late to the process that you should be penalized for that, right? So we wanted to make it super fair. The other part is the prior sacrifice bonuses. And if the wallet that sacrifices for Power City also contributed to building the rest of this wonderful ecosystem that we're building within, right? So if you sacrifice for Pulse Chain, plsx, liquid loans, or internet money dividend token, each of those will add a bonus to your sacrifice up to a maximum of 55.55% combined. A little bit of a tip of the hat to Hex there.
Nice.
Because obviously these people, they went above and beyond, right? They're helping build all these tools in this entire environment, and that means a lot, right? And we totally respect that. The last thing we're doing is a community milestone bonus. And whenever the total sacrifice amount reaches certain milestones, we're randomly selecting wallets that contributed towards that milestone for an extra bonus as well. Because the community all worked together to achieve something, we're going to recognize a group of wallets from the community. And we're getting ready right now to celebrate the $2.5 million milestone for sacrifice. And we're going to be picking 80 wallets to win 35% bonus each.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I was one of those winning wallets in the earlier rounds.
Congratulations, right? That's awesome. So
thank you. I forgot about
that. The community is amazing, and we need to give back to them and recognize what they have achieved, right? And if you look at the sacrifice events on hexpulse.info, oh my gosh, I mean, this community has achieved a massive amount of work here, right? And each of these projects now have ability to go and provide some new DeFi and something new on Pulse Chain on day one, right? So we, the community, are the ones driving the build out of this chain, not waiting for some other VC to come and build something to just extract our dollars from us, right?
No, that sounds beautiful. And so, yeah, this is where we'll just touch on this quickly. So this is nice where you guys actually have segmented and gone, look, we've got 3 projects for you ready right now. We've got more on the roadmap, and then more we haven't even talked about because we're going to just take off a chunk of everything. So this is one of those weird things where, I mean, Richard Hart says, don't get into a project unless it's finished and completed. And it's like, well, we have a lot of elements finished and completed. There's just more to come, and they don't interface with each other directly in a way where you can't program the other one later. So
I mean, even the core, which is the first thing we're launching, is designed in a way to be what we call extensible, right? We can layer additional functionality on top of it by adding more contracts around it than having to go and rip the guts out of it and do a V2 and migrate everybody from one version to another and issue new tokens, right? So we're thinking forward in the ability to grow and expand and add functionality over time. V2 of the core is going to be awesome, right? We have some great ideas that we haven't even talked about publicly yet. So,
well, let's talk about V1 of the core, because as I was talking to you, I mean, the way I would generally sum it up is it sounds like a segregated private liquidity pool, which is using the revenue that'll be generated through fees to stabilize and balance price for the token. Is that roughly
That's a really interesting description. Kind of right.
Okay.
It is a reserve currency that is backed by a treasury. That treasury primarily will hold pulse, right, and it will then also invest some of the treasury in other DeFi to earn a yield. It
Mhm.
will also invest some of that treasury into the building and launching of the rest of these apps and services in the Power City ecosystem. Each of those apps and services will then share their revenue back into the core treasury, right? And as the treasury grows in value, more watts can be shared or provided to those who stake.
Mhm.
So staking watt is the primary way to participate in the growth of the entire Power City ecosystem. And we wanted to try to consolidate it in one place because one, we don't want to have like 10 different sacrifice events. We don't want to have 10 different token launches, 10 different places where you have to stake and shuffle assets around and everything. We wanted to make it simple and
Mhm.
straightforward and also allow all these things to kind of blossom and grow around it. And I always like to say it's kind of like a real estate investor in a sense where you get your first door, right? You invest in your first house, you rent it out, and then you use that money to go get your next one, and then you start snowballing. You go from 2 to 4, you go from 4 to 8, you go from 8 to 16, and before you know it, you have like 100 doors that are giving you passive income every month, right? This is the same idea.
That's beautiful. And so this is another big distinction and point with the sacrifice where Richard Hart, for each project and each step along the way, for Pulse Chain, plsx, the possible wallet in the future, will have individual sacrifices. You guys are having one sacrifice, which will be linked to all the projects you produce that may
Correct.
provide revenue and value for the chain.
Correct.
So
And
this is the one and only.
Watt is the primary token that will be utilized in the core. And we're finding interesting uses for Watt throughout the rest of the ecosystem that we haven't really, announced yet. But you don't have to have Watt to use all the other tools.
Mhm.
So the nice thing is if you don't like NFTs, well, you don't have to use Pixel Park, right? If you love
Mhm.
NFTs, but you don't want to stake your Watt tokens, well, you don't have to do that either. We have a great NFT marketplace you can utilize and leverage the excellent functionality there, right?
Mhm.
So, the nice thing is you don't have to be married to the ecosystem just to be able to enjoy the different functionality that the ecosystem provides, right?
Mhm.
And the thing is, we're again trying to provide key services that people want to use on day one to be able to put all the forked tokens and the NFTs that they got from Ethereum to work, right? And be able to utilize them, and also try to automate some of these processes so that the liquid loans front end and the automatic compounding with the haunted strategy, automate the yield compounding with the liquidity providing rewards. If some people who really want to dive into that as soon as plsx goes live, right? Let's make it easy for them to do that, so that one, we're generating more transactions, right? And
Mhm.
again, more transactions is good for everybody because you're burning more fees and you're building up the entire the volume on the chain, and you're showing that hey, we have real stuff going on here and
Mhm.
not just 1 or 2 transactions every second, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so before we dive into the bridges, like while we're talking about these topics, let's take a little bit of Q&A here. I'm going to take some time for some shout outs quickly. So let's see who we've got here. Crypto Compassion. I was on with him last night. I'm hoping you are having fun. Thank you, man. Let's see. Crypto AO. I've seen this name watching me so often, like from almost my first videos. This is like a very avid watcher. Thank you so much for being here. They obviously love your
Awesome.
project, so this is a good
Thanks,
sign.
Crypto AO. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else we got here? Oh, that's me. Just warning everyone. Hexy
Heck,
Cat's with us today. Beautiful. J Man's in the house. All right. Mixed Crypto Arts. We got a howdy. Nice. Kisa, hey, I sacrificed for Power City. What's going to be the launch price of the Watt token? Just asking because I only received a few hundred coins. Ooh, so this would be expectation of work or others or some insider trading, possibly, right? Like, this isn't one you can field so easily.
I'll let you know when we launch. How about that?
Yeah, no expectation of the work of others. I would say personally, because I'm not on their team, I sacrificed. He can look all uncomfortable and stop his camera if he likes. I mean, that way. But hey, if the minimum sacrifice is 1 point for $1, one would expect I would get at least that value maybe when it launched. So that's just my thinking, and we'll skip along that one. All right. Hello. Thank you, Monica. Welcome. Wow. Wait. I have female viewers, more than one. What happened here? This is awesome. Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my stats said 1.5, but I imagine some poor woman in a lawnmower accident, or like I don't know how that works. Pulse Maniac, hello. These aren't a whole lot of questions so far. All right, Nikki Buck. It's only a matter of time. I love those eyebrows. Oh, I know who that's Nikki. Oh, all right, cool. He's been talking to me lately. Another Canadian. Hexicat. Most stuff you get isn't valued or appreciated. I have a drawer full of free T-shirts from bars to prove it. Yeah, these free points might not be worth anything technically, folks. That's the whole joy of this.
And that's the challenge, right?
Mhm.
I understand the frustration of like, oh my gosh, there's yet another sacrifice because here, so many of us participated in Pulse Chain and plsx, and then there was one after another as more and more projects came along. I get the fatigue and the frustration. The key is you do what you're comfortable with, right? And only the political statements you wish to make. No one's pressuring anybody into doing anything, and there's nothing wrong with if you want to wait for launch and participate then, hey, right? I mean, but this is the process of getting things queued up onto Pulse Chain to be able to have all this stuff on day one. Because when we have millions of people coming from Ethereum who suddenly decide, oh my gosh, I have all this free stuff over here, what am I going to do with it? We don't want them to just eject and take all their value and run, right? Because that value extracted is from us, right? It's from us who are trying to use the chain. And we don't want to be their exit liquidity. We want them to participate and to be able to join in with us in building this into the new greatest EVM chain.
Beautiful. All right, before we put everyone into complete information overload, this is an interesting day to have an episode. Thank you, Osirin. I'm not sure I can pronounce it. Osirin, thank you, Osirin. Let's take a moment to break up all this technical chit chat and just say out there, I've got a mother. I'm sure you do. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. You want to take a stab? You got a mother you want to shout out on there?
I called her right before this to wish her a happy Mother's Day. So I'd love to say that she watched, but she doesn't.
Not a chance she is watching this, and if she does, she was asleep.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So thank you for bringing up that it is Mother's Day. We got to all respect the ladies out there in the audience and those mothers that raised us and put up with all of our BS while we were whining and kicking our whole way through our lives, right?
So true.
All right.
At least for you. I was perfect child.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll buy that one for $1. All right. Love dropping Pulse Jesus. Ooh. Love dropping knowledge everywhere he goes. Watts. LV long vacation. There we go. Up Power City fam. All right. And another one. Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there. Hex McKenzie, I missed the stack, but I'd be still interested. Well, you didn't miss the stack. Unlike every other project I ever bring on here after they're done their stack, Power City decided to leave theirs open till Pulse launched. So I was either like, well, I ignore them till after launch, or I come on with a project that I technically will be shilling because, yes, there's an opportunity to get in. Go to powercity.io. You have not missed this. Also, yeah, anyone else that's watching that feels like they might have lost some sacrifices because of wallet damage, if you have a brand new safe insulated wallet, this may be an opportunity to get in on something. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no idea if this guy will carry through on his promises, but he seems cool.
If you do have a compromised wallet, there are two groups that are offering assistance in potentially at least saving your airdropped pulse coins.
Mm-hmm.
So in the PRC Pulse chain altcoins Telegram, there's a combat post that comes up periodically. The gentleman who runs that channel is actually offering a service to try to recover some of those airdrops from your wallet before those scammers get it, before they get access to it. And for larger wallets, also, I think NFT on Pulse team is running a similar type of process. I don't know the exact mechanics behind it, but it is a service. And if you have nowhere else to turn, these are folks from the Hex community, from the Pulse community that are trying to help those who were unfortunate enough to be hacked, to have their wallets compromised, to maybe have a glimmer of hope and trying to recover those airdrops before those scammers get access to them.
But an important thing to know, at least with one of these services, I'm not sure if the other one is a little less strict, but these services, this attempt, I mean, this takes programming, software interfacing, and permission from the owners. Without permission of the owners, this would be very illegal hacking.
Yeah.
That would be done. So when talking to these people, this is not a service provided by Richard Hart. It's not a service provided as a business that is, required. They can be very selective about their customers, because if you can't verify your identity properly according to their very strict standards to make sure they are not in danger, they may not be able to help you. And even if you can pass all of those, if something still smells off, they can refuse the service. So with this, it's a tricky situation, but that's where you've always got to protect your seed phrases. Security is very important. And that's where I even started doing some security videos. But we're going off on a little bit of tangent. I just want to plow through the chat quickly here, and we'll get back to the bridging topic, I believe.
It's still important stuff, though. Sadly, we hear every day in the chats, hey, I was compromised. My wallet was compromised. What can I do? And thankfully, these groups are really trying to help. And, the hardest part is sussing out the scammers from the honest people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is very difficult. It is very difficult to get that done. All right. So El Mateo. Hola. All right. Hola. Welcome. ¿Cómo está, mi amigo? Pulse Jesus. What's happening, Pulse Radio? Well, we're having a good live stream today on a Sunday. I'm all for sax, FYI. I know you are, Hexacat. Oh, David made it. Welcome. Morning.
David.
Well, afternoon here. Good morning. And then Flat Earth Underground. Hey, everyone. Happy Mother's Day, moms. Okay. All right. I don't know who this is, but I have to check this out. A flat earther is following me. I have to reassess my entire life now.
To each their own.
Hey, yeah. Well, no, maybe they're mocking them, or hey, if that's your beliefs, that's good. I'm not going to mock anyone's beliefs. I just science. Anyway, and Hex for Life. Are they going to dump the sack hex? Ooh, are they going to keep or dump the sacrificed hex? Will it hurt the price? Questions. One more little burner before we get back to the banners.
It's something we'd have to ask whoever controls that wallet. Remember, it was a sacrifice made for a political statement to which no expectations were to be made of the whatever was given away, right?
All right. So we were talking about bridges. Now, I'm sure in a lot of people's minds, they just imagine putting a little stick of dynamite at the base of a tree, popping it so it crosses over some water, and then doing a balancing act across. A bridge. It's easy. It's simple. Why are you only doing two? Well, there's some things about exploits like, hey, you're walking over a rotting tree. Maybe it'll crack under you. Maybe you'll fall in the river. Bridges are not just that easy, are they?
No. So bridges can get complicated very quickly, and what looks incredibly simple, to your point, can get very, very complex and detailed as you get into all the types of scenarios and what ifs that can go into it. And you're trying to connect two things that were never designed to talk to each other with a piece of middleware that says, okay, I did a native transaction over here, and I want to somehow kick off a native transaction over here, but I need to make sure that these amounts are the same and they're going to the right place and everything else, right? So obviously, there's a lot of work to make sure it's done right. We are taking a very different approach from the pulse ramp that Richard Hart implemented, right? So that bridge is looking to wrap assets from one chain onto another. So if I take Pulse onto Ethereum, it'll be ePulse, right? If I bring Ethereum onto Pulse chain, it'll be PETH. So I'm not necessarily getting Pulse when I bridge over. I'm just bringing that asset over. Now, the problem with that is, how do I transact with that if I don't have any gas, right? If I don't have any native coin to pay for it. Our goal with our bridge is really to make it easy to get value on the chain as cheaply as possible or cost effectively as possible. And coming through Ethereum is about the most expensive route that you can go, because you're looking at 3 or 4 transactions to transfer your assets over, swap into something, bridge it over, swap out of it, right? So we want to make it faster and easier, because when you're trying to onboard your aunts and uncles and grandparents and nieces and nephews and everybody, right, you want to tell them that they're going to lose 30% of their value to fees, right? So why not make it easy to come in through Avalanche or Binance Smart Chain or Phantom or Polygon or some of these other chains that you can get directly to there from a fiat on ramp, right? And then from there, come directly to our cross-chain swap and swap directly into Pulse on Pulse chain. And then from there, you have the native coin. You can do whatever you want with that Pulse from there, right? And you can pay for as many transactions and swap into anything you want there once you're on chain. Now, it'll go both ways, right? So if you want to get off Pulse, you don't have to go through Ethereum. You can go through the same chains that I just listed, right? So, the idea being, Coinbase, they list AVAX, right? So you can get the Avalanche, buy AVAX tokens on Avalanche through Coinbase, some directly from your bank account. I think you can do that through crypto.com if you use the app on your phone, right? You bring that over into your MetaMask wallet, and then you connect to our core, and it'll swap you directly into Pulse on Pulse chain, right? Now, by doing that, it'll swap you through Watt. So it'll take those AVAX tokens and behind the scenes, or swap it into Watt tokens on Avalanche, bridge those Watt tokens over to our core on Pulse chain, and then swap from Watt tokens into Pulse on Pulse chain, giving you the native token then on Pulse chain. So we're not trying to lock up your tokens on one side to then release a copy on the other side, which then means those tokens are locked up in a contract and can be exploited somehow, right? Which is what we've seen in the news a lot for all these exploits on bridges, right? Instead, it's our token, right? It's our token that we're bridging. We're actually minting and burning, on either side. So we're not, it's not your token that's put at risk. Let's just say that, right? And we're putting in various controls. I won't get into the details here, but we're putting in various controls to just monitor that and try to manage, okay, if there was some kind of a weird, funky transaction, it's limited in the scope of what it can impact, right? So, we have to design for what we know and what we don't know. And for what we don't know, we're trying to put ring fences around it so that even if something that we can't even imagine today gets through, right, that it's not going to take the whole system down. So we're working through those details right now, right? And as we get into a public test net, then we will let people play around with it and be able to test, transferring value between test nets on the different chains, and so on. So we're not quite there just yet. We're getting very close for internal integration testing, and then once we're getting through our audits, then we can do a public test net and let people play around with it.
Beautiful. And I do want to circle back and talk just a little bit more about the nature of the exploits. So it is awesome to hear you guys are putting so much thought into it, because I mean, when you hear about Ethereum got hacked or Bitcoin got hacked, funny enough, as much as Bitcoin is a bunch of horribly written spaghetti code with a poker app still buried in it, grayed out, um, it's not the Bitcoin itself that got hacked. It's the fact that it is so hard to interface with. The bridge that was interfacing with it is what relayed the exploit for the hack. And that's why it's so important to do this. And people like Popper Bona brought up a great point that I'd forgotten about for almost 10 years, was a point of security, and it's ease of access versus tightness of security. You have to give and take from that. And that's where a lot of people don't realize the amount of layering that has to go into a lot of things. So I've been watching the back dev chats about just an RPC node and keeping it available for the standard RPA or for standard HTML, and keeping it open for Windows socket layer, having the two on the same. They had to build an installation, put another server in front of it to protect from DDoS attacks, so that even if either server gets affected, the other one should still be fine on the back layer of it. A lot of people's eyes are crossing right now as I'm like, this is the stuff that used to get me really going in Web 1.0 when I was hacking and programming, allegedly. So, I mean, yeah, you guys, oh, excuse me. I'm sure my audience loved hearing me clear my throat. So you guys have, you're implementing a lot of layering and isolation into your protocols. Like the amount of infrastructure and thought that you're putting behind this isn't just some smart contract for a meme coin put away. You guys are like an actual high-end team of devs, and one of you has to have security background for thinking, like doing infrastructure for literally software or protecting networks. You guys have put so much effort into this. I'm imagining at least 24 devs on a team for you guys.
Well, I mean, we're 13 people on the team here, and we actually have a couple of different dev teams working in parallel right now. So, not all of us are developers, but we don't all need to be. We're all, kind of working on different aspects of things. The important thing is, we're not going to launch something until it's ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bridges are hard, bridges are complicated. And nobody who creates a bridge is going to, or any project is going to sit here and tell you there's no way it could ever be exploited ever, forever, or something like that, right? I mean, it's just, we will do everything we can in our testing. We're going to get audits. Nothing's going to launch without an audit, okay, a third-party audit. And we're going to go through, public tests that people can play around with it, right? So we are trying to be as, upfront about everything as possible. We don't want to rush it out just because Pulse Chain launches tomorrow. If it launches tomorrow, that doesn't mean we're going to just drop everything and dump our code, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to follow our process, and we're going to make sure that it's ready, and it won't launch until it's ready. The same way that Richard's not launching until it's ready, we're going to do the same thing, because keeping everyone safe and having everything run properly is our first focus, right? Versus trying to be, firsties on the chain there, right? So, we're going to be early enough anyway. It's not going to make a difference. So if Pulse Chain were to launch tomorrow and we launched, days or weeks afterwards, it doesn't matter. We're still so early. It's insane, right? Mm-hmm. So, it all depends on when Pulse Chain launches. When we get our audit done, that'll determine when we can launch, in general. There's too many variables to really kind of speak to exact timeframes at this point, but we're working hard. We're trying to get it all pulled together. And as far as a bridge is concerned, we are trying to balance that security versus ease of use. And, we didn't want to support 30, 40 different tokens. One, because that requires a lot of liquidity to be locked up. And two, each one of those tokens is then at risk, right? So we're going to have one token that we're going to bridge. Everything's going to go through Watt. And then whatever the liquidity is with Watt, well, the core already has that. And there are going to be mini cores on each of those other chains that will provide the liquidity to be able to swap in and out of Watt tokens and those native coins on each of those other chains. So they're all going to be tied together. The nice thing is that's going to open the door for future expansion to be omni-chain, all chains, right? Nice. So the more places we have our core, the more places we can have future functionality, right? So we're thinking, obviously our home is Pulse Chain, right? And we're launching on Pulse Chain, and we're building all these things for Pulse Chain, but the future is multi-chain. And we want Pulse Chain to be the center of it, but we want to make it easy to bring all these other people in as well, and get them involved and have that benefit this ecosystem.
That is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it actually, oh man, I could go deeper onto this because now my mind is just cracked open a little bit, realizing what you guys are doing. I'm sure you're familiar with a project called Quant and their end goals. They're trying to
I'm not
build.
actually.
No. Okay. So as far as I understand Quant, it's uh a security developer. He's been in the field for about 15 years, helping consult with different companies to shore up their digital security. Very, very good resume. Long laundry list of reasons that this guy is very good at his job, loves programming and software and safety for the community. Okay. And not much video to interact with, like I can watching Richard Hart to be, well, do I trust this guy? He might be good at what he does, but does he actually care about my interests? So I haven't had that opportunity to study it. And a lot of it comes from the more corporate sector. A lot of that is a lot less trusted in our community for good reasons. But even with all that said, their idea is what TCP/IP did for Web 1.0 for standardizing network communication. It
Mhm.
still allowed you to take a daisy chain network and TCP over to another. Like you could cross networks, and that was the first time that boom, you had that kind of interconnectivity a whole worldwide. And now you've got these separate chains doing the same similar thing. Their whole concept is to build the TCP/IP standard of Web 3.0. So some of
Mhm.
their software might be interesting to you, whatever is open or available, but they are nothing but promises. They released a coin and we're hopefully going to get there. We're working on it. They have an idea how they might get it done. I don't think they're in a beta or anything like that. So I mean their concepts are interesting. But that's where it's another promise project. But as I listen to you talk and I think like how the networks need to communicate with each other, that's a total another way is that you interchangeably make the same similar project on each chain and then some centralized project that can communicate between your projects, and you have opened up that kind of ecosystem, which is the direction you guys are heading to, is not just one protocol to link everything, but almost like your guys' own chain, except for it doesn't have to function like its own chain. Like this is just beautiful. My mind is just firing here, man.
Well, you're seeing a lot of projects talk about doing their own chain only so that they can connect their protocol running on multiple chains without
Mm-hmm.
having to go through someone else's back end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you have your own chain that then, think of it, we have Power City chain that would allow the core on Pulse chain to be able to speak to the core over on AVAX, and the core on Binance Smart Chain would allow you to maybe bond liquidity over there that can be utilized, and maybe we're bonding for AVAX or some other token on Avalanche to go invest in that protocol to earn a yield that will then allow more watt to be minted for stakers on the Pulse chain side. Well,
Nice.
that's yield that was earned over there, and I'm not bridging that value back into Pulse chain just to be able to then count that as something I can mint, right? These
Mm-hmm.
are all things down the road, but yeah, you totally get the possibilities here, right? You
Mm-hmm.
see, we can operate these things across chain. We can grow Power City to be many chains, right? With its hub here in Pulse chain, right? That's its
Mm-hmm.
home, but it's talking to many things in many places and allowing to maybe tap into capabilities and other protocols on those chains in different, unique, and interesting ways. A great example is this: the liquid loans front end that we want to do to run the
Mm-hmm.
Haunted strategies. Okay, well, liquid loans is just a fork of Liquidity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Liquidity happens to run on 6 or 7, maybe 8 different chains, right? There's one on Binance, there's one on Polygon, there's one on Phantom, there's one on AVAX, right? And the original is on Ethereum, and then we'll have liquid loans on Pulse Chain, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't you just apply the exact same functionality to each one of those, right? Why couldn't we then, extend our NFT marketplace to allow bridging of NFTs to those other chains and allow you to be able to trade NFT collections across
Mm-hmm.
multiple chains? And why
That would
couldn't
be
you
beautiful.
have those NFTs represent things more than just artwork, but DeFi yield bearing instruments that can be traded across chains, right?
Oh, I'm in for that. Before we dive into the NFTs, because that's the next topic. So before we bleed into that, let's come back and take some more comments or questions around the bridge or anything else. And yeah, the NFTs, I've got a lot to dive into with you there. So where were we in the chat? I think this is a little bit of a back. Now this, the way I found it was they have a Telegram chat. It's in the pinned messages, and up there in the pinned messages, it'll say go to this link to check a Excel data sheet. I think it was, or a Word file. I used Control F and searched the last 4 letters of my wallet. that was what I did. Is there a different procedure?
No, that's the easiest way. It's posted in Discord. It's posted also in Telegram. There's a command you can pull up winners for Combat to give you the link to the file directly. And like you said, it's also pinned. It's a PDF file, which you can just search for your wallet address, and it'll tell you which bonus was won and when the exact date and time that milestone was achieved, which means the bonus applies to any sacrifices made up to that point, right? And it's going to show you the percent that wallet will receive. So if the bonus, if you sacrifice, say, $100 before the bonus and you win a 35% bonus, okay, so now you have 135 sacrifice points for that wallet. Now the next day you put another $10 in. Well, that $10 doesn't get the 35% bonus because the milestone's already been achieved, right? So it's only up to that point in time.
Beautiful. And that answers some questions for me since I qualify for like all of the bonuses.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, all but one. I didn't get in on Pulse Chain. All right. There are a lot of flat earthers in this community, I've come to learn. Oh,
yeah.
I have alienated
one of the early interviews I did was with a group called Jaronism, and they've done a couple of streams with Rags to Riches as well. I think nice people. Don't get me wrong, very nice people. It was a very interesting discussion to listen into about their beliefs around the shape of the earth and so on. But very interested in Pulse Chain, very supportive of Pulse Chain and what's going on in Pulse Chain. So it was really nice to be able to talk to them.
All right. Well, I should probably, since now I know that they're possibly a big part of my demographic, let me backpedal like a politician here. The flat earthers, all right, I gave you guys time. I sat in your communities and I did not troll you. I actually even watched the Flat Earther documentary that was produced about 5-10 years ago. When the motion movement was getting kind of large, and they got together, got their own funding, and a whole lot of reasons the Earth might be flat, that NASA could have staged the moon landing. It's like, all right, maybe they did. Conspiracies are fun. We can go a lot of our arguments, and like, that's actually not bad. It's not bad. But the real final argument, because I haven't been up in space, is generally the curve of the Earth. And okay, so they even put together a beautiful experiment to prove that the Earth was flat using mile markers, poles, and a laser. And that experiment did not go so well for them at the end of the documentary. And then the documentary just ended, and then they still aired it. And I was like, okay, all right. Anybody that is that committed to a belief, I will just commend you on your commitment. That I find either respectable or you're absolutely nuts. And either way, I don't want you slitting my tires on my car. So love flat earthers. All right. Yeah, great. Welcome to the audience, guys. Okay. So what do we got now? Personal Jesus. Okay. David, power sacrifice is open till Pulse Chain launches. Yes, it is, sir. Smash that like button. Thank you for reminding me, Pulse Jesus. I never tell people to do that. I really don't care if they like me.
No, like it. Hit the notification button. Subscribe, please. Come on. Top Gun's doing some awesome content. Support him.
Yeah, and comments for the algorithm, and share it with people, friends, and family. If you got kids, I have a What is Pulse Chain? They're stick figure drawings. It's for kids. I should relabel it. All right. X for life. My sack is done. Looks a fair dude. It's good to hear. David, like and subscribe. Thank you, sir. Hex life. All right. Aw, sandwich. Thank you. I'm a cool dude. All right. Pause to me. I don't even want to say that one out loud. Pulse debater. What about fiat on ramps directly to Pulse Chain? Oh my God. All right. Fiat on ramps directly to Pulse Chain. Are you guys thinking about including that in your bridge services or other?
Well, we're not going to be providing those directly, but we do
Okay.
know of some other teams that are working on them. I do not have updates on their timing or anything, but you know, I do expect something to be out there, you know, in the next year. I would assume, right? I'm just
Okay.
assuming there are other teams that I know of that are trying to crack that problem, right? And that's a whole different bag of cats to try to deal with that. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. All right. And the last question before we get back to NFTs, is there a cap for the sacrifice?
No, just on your head.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful. So now let's talk about this. So we've got Mintra, which has their copying the style of OpenSea, got going a little fast, got some players involved, and they've got some beautiful stake features. They're copying plsx mechanics, easy to follow. NFT on Pulse, they've got howtopulse.com. They've built a community, they built a roadmap, they follow RH. They're likely going to have some very good token mechanics when they release. And you guys came along and made another NFT marketplace, but there are differences between all of these marketplaces. They're not just identical clones of each other. So, to give you a moment here, let's talk about the differences in your NFT marketplace.
Well, I'm not going to try to compare and contrast functionality with those
Okay.
because nobody's launched yet, right?
Mhm.
So, but what we can talk about is, you know, we are working to not only bring new artists and work with new artists to launch collections, you know, within Pixel Park.
Mhm.
We're also working with new uses for NFT technology. So one of our biggest announcements is a partnership with Boxable, which is the largest tiny home manufacturer, I believe, in the world. And they will be launching an exclusive collection on Pulse Chain of NFTs that I believe it's about 10,000 NFTs that will represent the ability to have a tiny home manufactured on their new manufacturing line in Las Vegas and delivered to, you know, your whatever property you want to install it on. So they're basically NFTs that represent physical property, physical things, right? And now, when you actually want to claim it, you will then burn that NFT into their backlog, right? Their
Mhm.
queue, and then you'll be queued up for, you know, your home to be manufactured. But until then, that it's an NFT, and whatever you can do with an NFT of any other kind, you can do with this NFT, right?
Mhm.
So we can't tell you, you know, what to do with your Boxable home or what to do with your NFT, but we can say that basically now you have a digital representation of an actual physical object that you have rights to by owning that digital and NFT, right? So it's not
Mhm.
just an image that somebody can download and just keep a copy on their hard drive, right?
Mhm.
It's not just you know, a promise of something per se. It is, you know, you actually own this real thing, and we can see this is really the where the technology seems to be going. There's a couple different directions. One is like actual things that you can then be able to claim that someone's going to buy. Think about like, what if you were to get NFTs when you went to a Kickstarter
Mhm.
or one of these launching, you know, Indiegogo or something like that, right? And you're buying NFTs through a crypto marketplace to get in line for that product basically before it's actually made, right?
Mhm.
That's a great use for it. Or as a DeFi product that is a yield bearing instrument, right? So another use of NFTs we're looking to do is, you know, you can stake the Watt token in our core, right, to earn more Watt, and that'll get, you know, a very competitive yet sustainable yield, right? So I'm not
Mhm.
going to quote any numbers, but let's just say that it'll be more than what you would get out of Hex, probably, just to give you a range or an idea.
Interesting.
Now, if you were to lock that stake for a certain amount of time, well, you'll earn more yield, a higher rate, right? And we will give you an NFT that represents that stake,
Hmm.
right? And if you think about a stake, what is it? It is a promise of the core to pay you more what? It's kind of like a bond, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you buy a treasury, right, you are then receiving interest payments on a regular basis. And then at the maturity, you get your principal back, right? So if you look at Hex is what we call a zero coupon bond because you put your principal in, you earn your inflation over time, and then at the end, you collect your inflation and your principal, right? You can't touch it in the middle. For a coupon bond, you're actually collecting your interest or your inflation throughout the period, right? On a
Mm-hmm.
monthly basis, quarterly basis, whatever the terms are. So in this case, you would be able to access the yield on that time locked stake, but you wouldn't be able to access the principal on that time locked stake, right?
Nice.
And then as an NFT, you can resell that and then opens the doors for an entire secondary market of
Boom.
exactly, right?
Bonds.
So this is a big I mean, this is the piece that just made my brain explode
Mm-hmm.
when our developer was walking us through, like, oh no, we can do this, and then we can
Mm-hmm.
do that, and then it can grow into this, and I'm like, wow, okay, because I don't think this aspect of a crypto bond market is something that a lot of people can relate to, right? Unless you work in finance and unless you invest in these things, right? In traditional finance world, and if you're familiar with these things, then it just sounds like a bunch of gobbledygook,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you understand, the idea of selling these is core. The fixed income market is like hundreds of trillions in size, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
a massive, massive market, right?
It is. It really is. And I just want to take a moment because you are explaining everything so eloquently and beautiful, but I know there's some people that are still, you can't see when I do these things with my eyes because of the glasses, but I'm crossing them right now. They're just sitting there glazed over with their eyes crossed. And I just want to sum this up that basically, like, I hate JPEG rocks. Okay. That's useless NFT technology. But you guys are like Tim the Toolman Taylor. You come along and this isn't good enough. It's got to have more power.
More power.
Wait. No, sorry. Your guys is more power, baby. More power,
Oh
baby.
yeah,
More
more
power,
power.
baby. More power. Yeah. So, but I mean, you come along and you tinker with everything and you're improving it. So, yeah, NFTs suck. That's why you shouldn't trust another marketplace. But you guys are actually talking about NFTs for physical objects, NFTs as bonds, not just this digital art. Now, that is amazing. So, I mean, you guys, is there any other aspects that you're ready working on, or you're just willing for any time somebody comes up with a use for an NFT, tell you you'll see if it's possible? Like, how much more have you guys dove into this? Is it just
We
stopping at the
we
bond for now?
Well, I mean, that's going to be the first big thing, right?
Yeah.
There's Boxable. That's a huge thing. We think that's going to open the door for a lot of other similar type of products to launch that way, right? Launch as an NFT collection instead of like a Kickstarter or something else, and
Mm-hmm.
there might be better opportunities there with maybe lower fees than what those other platforms might offer, and so on. As far as DeFi and investment NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good starting point. Obviously, Hedron has its HSIs, which are encapsulated hex stakes that are tradable as NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of other interesting ideas that we're tooling around with, but not ready to really get into those details just yet. But what I will say is, and really, when we talk about nodes, that's like one of those like really kind of out there type of projects. As far as we're nowhere near developing it this second, right? So we're in design, we're in a lot of discussion around how to approach it, but it's further in the pipeline. But one of the ideas is having those NFTs, those nodes represented as NFTs. Those
Wow.
nodes would be earning a yield, and you would be able to trade ownership of those nodes. Whoever owns the NFT could then claim, whatever is being earned by selling the capacity of that node to someone who needs to consume it on the
Wow.
system side, right? So, I mean, there are interesting things that we can do there, but more. All I can say is more to come, and we definitely want to work with anybody who is curious about launching an NFT collection and wants to discuss interesting ways to, tokenize or do other things with it, we'd love to talk to them and find, ways we can partner Pixel Park with, their project and see if we can offer anything.
Nice. And this isn't even the deep dive. So we're going to have you back on for another episode with another one of your team members to actually talk more about the NFTs and the Pixel Park, because there's still so much more to uncover.
Yeah, Toshi Flo is our resident expert. Then, he's also an artist, musician. He's created his own NFT collections, and he's working with a couple of really amazing artists to bring them on board. And he's also been pivotal in coordinating that entire Boxable partnership. So really, the credit goes to him. And would love to have him be able to come in and talk about Pixel Park and what it can do, what is our vision long term, and what are we trying to offer artists who do want to launch a new collection, because not everybody hates the idea of a rock NFT, right? And some of this art's actually pretty amazing. We have some cool videos on our YouTube channel that actually show sped up a bunch of really cool artwork being generated that will be a collection that I believe is going to be launched on Pixel Park, right? So you can see like just really, really unique, interesting looking stuff that, hey, if you like that, we're going to have it. And we're going to have a place for you to be able to trade it. We're going to have a place for you to be able to stake it and eventually tokenize it. We have a lot of things planned around NFTs, and we want to be the premier NFT marketplace on Pulse Chain. And as I mentioned, right, even if you don't like NFTs, you can like the impact that they'll have on the network, because they are, the largest gas consumer on Ethereum, right? Because they're less efficient than trading an ERC20, right? So the fees around NFT transactions happen to be just a little bit more expensive. Well, the more fees we generate by trading and moving NFTs around means more pulses burned from those transaction fees, which then drives that deflationary aspect of the tokenomics there.
Beautiful. And that was the skim, folks. You guys got to really love me for putting these guys to the wall and making them do the speed dating round, don't you? All right. So, so there's more to come, a huge, long roadmap. We're going to skim over the bridge because we beat that to death. It is hard to code for bridges, so you are concentrating on the Ethereum-based chains. So what we want to dive into is the NRG, which, I mean, that's not like when I read what it is, nodes to service or nodes as service, I'm like, wait, where was the R come from? How did they even get this acronym? And that's why I was like, there's got to be a better one. What are you guys doing here?
Energy. We're Power City. We generate energy.
Oh, wow. Now I'm slow.
It's not funny when you have to explain it.
More power, baby.
As I mentioned, this one's a little bit further out, right? But we do recognize the need for infrastructure on the chain, right? And I would love for this to really be able to be fleshed out. And there's a lot of ideas around how to make this work. We just have to figure out, the details behind it. Basically, you need nodes to secure and support any given blockchain, right? A node is not a validator. A validator, well, think about it as a Venn diagram, right? All nodes have a copy of or have blockchain data on it, right? Validators are a subset within those that are authorized to actually write new data to the blockchain, right? But not all nodes can do that, right? And not all nodes have a full archive version of the entire history of the database. Some of them have subsets, right? So there's different types of nodes out there. But basically, every time you check your MetaMask wallet balances, every time you go to hex.com/stake to look at your hex stakes or any one of those dApps, right? It is actually hitting a node behind the scenes to inquire the blockchain data to be able to display that information on screen, right? So it's the database, right, behind all the apps. So instead of having like a SQL database behind these websites, they're actually going to blockchain data. And you have to have those nodes to be able to access that data. If you had one node well, everyone's going to be hitting that one server and crushing it, as Richard likes to say, hugging it to death, because everybody wants information from one server, right? So the more nodes you have, the faster response times, and the more copies of the blockchain you have spread across the world, the more resilience you have of the network, and the harder it is to falsify information, because you would have to then falsify at least half of those servers spread across the world with bad information, right? So it just, the more nodes, the more secure. But so
yeah, and that's a mistake people. That's
sorry.
the mistake people make. 33 validators. They think they only have to take over half of the validators, but there are over 100 nodes, and they have to actually attack all the nodes.
Correct. And there will be thousands of nodes, right? Eventually. I mean, I think Ethereum has hundreds of thousands of nodes. So, the more nodes, the better for the blockchain and to serve up data to those applications that need it, and those developers who want to build on the chain, right? They need access to the data. Now, I wouldn't say it's easy to go spool up a node unless you are, familiar with configuring server side software and so on. If you like that, great, you can spin up a node, no problem, right? Most people, that's not their bailiwick, right? And we want to figure out, much like Strongblock, a way to provide a service for people to be able to help fund the setting up of the hardware and software, right? They can spool up a node automatically or buy a portion of a server, and then that server capacity can be sold on a DeFi marketplace to a developer or dApp that needs to access that capacity to serve up their application, right? Mm-hmm. So if I need a server to or node services to serve up 100,000 or 200,000 requests a day, I would normally pay about $80 a month to Infura to be able to do that on the Ethereum network, right? So why pay that to Infura, who's owned by Consensus, which is also partially owned by JP Morgan, when instead you can have a community funded and run platform of nodes that you would be able to then purchase those services from them, right? So there's a lot of detailed work out there. There's a lot of logistics on the hardware side, on the software side, and then in the marketplace side. So there's a lot of moving parts on this one, and that's why it's definitely further out in the pipeline. But I'm excited about it. If we can crack this nut and get it done, which I think we can, there's some really unique twists we can put on there. If you look at Thor nodes and power nodes and strong nodes and whatnot, mm-hmm. They came up with an interesting idea of trying to compensate people for the idea of running a node, but they never completed the circle, which is selling access to that node and funding then those rewards. So instead, they were all pyramid schemes trying to bring in more people to be able to feed those funds to whoever created their nodes earlier. And the challenge is they all fail, right? All of them have failed or are failing right now, sadly, right? Because it's a great idea. You need node services, but they're not compensated by the chain. Mm-hmm. So instead, let's create a service that will compensate them. Awesome idea. Just the implementation didn't quite close the loop and allow those services to be sold to developers, which would then fund the rewards being paid back to those people who are actually paying to keep the nodes up and running and well maintained.
Wow. Again, love the level of thought. Like, this is, if I have to admit, like, this is where I wasn't totally sold on the Power City Core tokenomics. I didn't understand it fully, but I saw the nodes as a service, attracting the developers to come, building so much of the infrastructure of Pulse Chain that's so important that people don't really think about. When I saw all this, I went, oh, all right. Well, here, some of my money for you guys. Keep working. I don't care if I ever see a red cent, because this is the infrastructure that's going to make people come and build tokens on our system, which is going to bring all the volume to the DEXs and the NFT marketplaces, which is going to pump our bags. So, yeah, I didn't care if I actually saw a red cent from the actual tokenomics of your project. I just went, yeah, build that. Here's my money. So thank you for diving into it a little deeper. I understand it's down the roadmap, but this is
Yeah.
where I consider the most important thing that you guys were building beyond the actual core, because I didn't realize how important the core was to the infrastructure as well. So this is great, and that's where I want to stop for a moment and take any more questions, because I had a lot about this, and I think most of them have been answered. But Hex for Life has a throwback: free NFTs for Power City holders. That was something you were commenting on, I think, as a possibility.
I mean, free if you would get forked copies if you have them on Ethereum. As far as free being like airdrop to people, we haven't made any announcements about that, but interesting.
All right. And Paul's Jesus just has to say, more info, more power. All right. Great host. Well, thank you. All right. Hex for
And
Life.
hopefully, Pulse Jesus is feeling better. Pulse Jesus is a member of the team, awesome member of the team. So, yeah.
Oh, Paul's Jesus, I hope so. I hope that you are feeling much better, sir. Thank you for being here for this. Hex for Life. Make sure to make a demo version as soon as possible that you are with the hype, please.
I get it. I mean, we do want to provide a public test net that people can play around with, but that would be preferably after an audit, if possible. That way, all this we want to have it as nice and polished as possible before we get there, right? So bear with us. We are working hard to get there. That is the goal. And we will have something, we'll be making announcements in our Telegram, on Twitter, and in our Discord.
Beautiful. And Jen Hex, Craig Wadding, wants to say, hey, Top Gun and Long Vacation. Thank you for the shout out, brother. That seems to be the end of the comments. Okay, so we've only got a couple more to go here to dive into. So the accelerator sounds cool. Yep. What the heck's the accelerator? What are you accelerating? How does this work?
Well, you feel the need for speed, right, Top Gun? So I haven't seen the new movie yet. I'm looking forward to that. That should be interesting. So the accelerator is two separate components. We might actually be splitting out the names on those, but the idea is to compound your pulse into more things, right? So first we have the liquid loans front end, right? And that is designed to help automate or simplify, depending on how you want to run it, the haunted strategies for liquid loans. If you're not familiar with the haunted strategies, Haunted is a brilliant strategist who's been working with us on this to design the functionality needed to plug in using your pulse as leverage to buy more pulse as the value of pulse goes up. So every 10% increase in value in the price of pulse, you leverage more of it to then buy more pulse. And you're constantly cycling through as the market goes up. But you're only leveraging a fraction of what you have so that you can absorb market dips, even significant market dips like 85 to 90%, right? So by taking a conservative approach, if you were to do that, every 10% it goes up in value. Within 60 to 62 iterations, you'll have doubled your pulse position versus having just held and not done anything. And by the way, then you can use liquid loans to then access that capital and either, be able to get cash them into fiat or, invest elsewhere if you wanted to without actually having to sell your pulse, right?
Nice.
So the nice thing with these strategies is, one, I think everybody hopes that Pulse will be very successful, right? And that will launch at one value and probably do very well afterwards, let's just say, right? I think that's kind of the general sentiment in the community. So having it go up 10%, 10%, 10% probably isn't a huge surprise. If you look in the Pulse Chain.com channel, there's a lot of different projections of growth. But if you compare to what other new EVM chains have done in their first, second, and third years of launch, on average, it's around 400%. And I think you've even had some amazing analysis of what is possible, right? With Pulse Chain and with plsx as we go through this whole process, right? So by leveraging liquid loans and by using the functionality there, This front end will then help more people to be able to put it on autopilot so that we have more transactions running, right? More transactions, more fees burned. We always like that. And also more people doing the strategy means that once you get to a certain point with the pulse price, those buys, those collective buys that are happening actually potentially could start positively impacting the pulse price themselves, right? Now, we'll have to see it in action, but we think it's a positive.
I definitely see it that way. So to simplify this one for the folks at home, the haunted strategy is an incredible tool, but it's a strategy and no plan survives contact with the enemy. So you need to follow General Haunted in order to effectively iterate this plan. Now, you guys are taking away the need to be a well-drilled sergeant, and you're automating the haunted strategy basically with a simpler front end, which essentially will mint a bunch of USDL sound-backed stablecoin for the environment to use, essentially.
Exactly. And you and I were in the main chat there for Pulse Chain this morning talking about how do we take the emotion out of the market, right? And for everybody after we get to launch, for people who sacrificed, who are sitting on these Pulse coins and who are desperately watching the charts move, right? How do you sit on your hands and lock away the keys and don't let yourself, be emotional about it, because it's going to be a roller coaster ride. Putting these things on autopilot, in this process kind of gets you hands off, and you're not analyzing the price every second of the day, hitting refresh every 30 seconds. It takes some of the emotion out of it. It also makes sure that you don't miss these key events, so that every day it's running a process, or periodically it's running the process and doing what it's got to do to keep you moving. And if you don't happen to check it for a couple of days, well, you didn't miss a 10x or a 10% increase in price, maybe, right? So that's one half of the accelerator. The other half is a yield compounder, much like you would see Yearn or Beefy Finance or some of these others, where they take yield farming and liquidity providing rewards, and they sell the reward tokens that are farmed to then buy more of whatever it is that you're staking and restaking it. Right. So it just keeps compounding those rewards into your position. And in the end, you either have a larger position in that liquidity pool, right? If you're providing liquidity for one of those rewarded pairs on plsx, for example, or if there's other things that are single asset staking that can be compounded, maybe within plsx for plsx tokens, single asset staking, that the reward token could be then compounded for more plsx. And as more DeFi comes to Pulse Chain, we can extend that to more and more platforms, right?
Beautiful. Love it. I love it. You guys are making me so bullish. I'm wishing I sacked more. Oh, well. All right. Now, before I let you dive into this, I would like to express some thoughts on this. So metaverses in general, the issue with the metaverse is nobody really knows what the heck this is. If you haven't seen Ready Player One, you probably don't have your mind around this unless you're playing Doom and Quake back in the late 90s. The idea of a metaverse is that people will join together and socialize in virtual reality. Now, the general biggest reason that they gather is to play games. So my biggest issue with a metaverse is until you have a company that provides a VR structure and then allows Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft to gets them all to allow access to their games through this virtual portal and allows integration of their software, so you have a virtual arcade. That is generally, to me, what I see the actual growth of a metaverse. And now these companies don't like to work together. There's no reason they're going to agree to work together unless there's already something functional. So this is where NFT gaming I find interesting, because another element to this, where different video games. So if I can go back for a moment, if anyone remembers Gran Turismo 1, 2, and 3, so the original GTAs before there was Grand Theft Auto. So Gran Turismo was interesting because in number 3, you would play and you'd unlock a skin for a car, much like an NFT. but you're not holding the deed, you're actually holding the skin. And then you could actually sell it to someone else. If you linked your PlayStations in the same room, you could move this skin between each other, sell it, and trade it as an actual economy. NFTs, people are going, yeah, get an NFT for your character. Great. Can I sell it or trade it to another character? Well, yeah, it's an NFT. Can they then use it in game? No. So this is a huge limiter. Now, there's a project that was trying to come out back in December called Guzzler. And this was an NFT gaming platform. And their concept was NFTs for racing cars, a lot like Gran Turismo. You buy spoilers, you buy tires, everything upgrades it. And you might actually be able to then open a shop and sell NFTs, thus trading the NFTs. You can sell a skin and another player might be able to use it. But they were very commercialized, and the way they were being, they just, you could tell a bunch of executives made them pump out a token. They overpriced it and it crashed. They haven't been getting the money they need to develop the project. But with all this rambling, the idea is you guys are working on an NFT marketplace. You're working on a metaverse. I'm sure you've given it some thought, the interconnection of gaming, NFTs, and the metaverse. I see something that needs to happen for that to all come together. What's your viewpoint or opinion on that? Do you agree? Do you see something more to it? What do you got? Do you want to throw in?
Well, just recently there was an announcement of a massive investment by, I think it was Lego, and was it Sony? It was someone else investing in Epic Games for metaverse, technology development. And if you read about the development plans and the functionality that's going into Unreal Engine 5, you'll see that they are heavily designing for just what you described as far as that virtual shared environment. And how do you scale it up to not just tens of players or hundreds of players, but thousands of players and more? How do you make it easy to extend onto these worlds without having to take the whole world down as you make changes, and so on, right? And tying into NFTs and so on. So there's a lot of new development going in there. Now, are we building our own game engine? No, we're not. I mean, let's be realistic. We want to find ways to use what's out there to try to build what makes sense on top of Pulse Chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to tie together the capabilities so that the community can also build on it, right? So we don't have to be the only ones designing something within a metaverse, that we build the tools and the capabilities for others to go and do more amazing and creative things that we can even think of, by building this out and making it a more colorful metaverse, right? But baby steps, there's a lot of ideas that are going into it right now on, how to lay out some certain foundations, what technologies to focus on, and how to start maybe doing a couple of shorter term deliverables versus mid and long term, and really kind of laying out that whole vision. So we have a member of the team who's kind of doing the deep dive on this and really trying to lay it out, soup to nuts for us, and figure out like, okay, well, here's Power City, here's what you're doing with DeFi, here's Pixel Park, this is what we can pull over here, this is what makes sense, and this is how we can interact with the rest of the ecosystem from within the metaverse. But these are also the other capabilities we can offer to go even outside of DeFi and more into virtual shared environments and events and learning experiences and businesses and so on and so forth, right? Nice. So there's a lot of different definitions of metaverse out there, like you said, right? It can take a lot of different forms along the way. Technically, we're interacting electronically all day, every day, right? Whether it's through Telegram or Discord or video conferences and Zoom or StreamYard or YouTube or whatever, right? This just happens to be in a digital format where you can see a graphical representation of the person next to you. Same idea. Right. So it's not like it's groundbreaking in the sense of the fact that we don't do this every day. Right.
Well, yeah, you've got a virtual background right behind you. I've chosen to use a real one, but you've got the virtual one there. And the only difference is we could be using skins right now. And if we had, because I've seen, I think one of your guys, it might be Paul's Jesus, has the I forget which one it is, has the virtual skin and shows up during your videos, which I think is hilarious.
I'm actually a really skinny guy, but I prefer this pudgy skin. Much better, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, but no, like if we were just using skins, using that technology with virtual backgrounds, this would literally be a metaverse. People have gathered in a
Yeah.
chat room to talk with us. I can bridge other people on stream, and we're digitally encapsulated in an environment. This is all a metaverse is. It's just the idea that people they go out so far. It's a network that allows you to use VR and everything else you can do on the internet at the same time. And they have
Yeah.
VR and they have everything else on the internet, but the two that's the meeting is the problem that people aren't getting. And on that note, like you guys have probably heard, Snoop Dogg, I believe, is trying to take his record label to NFT, so any of the live concerts he does are available for Metaspace or Metaverse. Just out of curiosity, so they might be going to one metaverse specifically, or detailing their content for that. Would you guys be able to cross platform them theoretically? Not saying you're in deals with them, but technology wise, if you were to hypothetically approach Snoop Dogg, get him a little baked, and then give him a business plan. Hey, you guys want to open up your protocol so more than one metaverse can share your content? Would this be something that your team would be interested in? Is it possible?
Well, I mean, we already mentioned that we want to be omni-chain because the future
Mhm.
is multi-chain, right? And if you think about it, just like the early days of the internet, everything was siloed, right? And
Mhm.
now we blur the lines across so many different tools today. I think the metaverse is going to be the same thing. Everyone is trying to figure out what it means to them. Eventually, there's going to be a universal standard that is adopted, and we're all going to start kind of touching each other and connecting to each other and finding ways to blur the lines between each other until finally you have a hub world with a bunch of doors, and those doors lead to all kinds of places that are created by the community, by all these other groups, and it can be whatever it is they envision that metaverse to be, right?
Nice. Nice. And wow, that has been 90 minutes. And just like it's like everybody has just gone, it's just flowed this way. It's not even actually planned, but 90 minutes and we have gotten through your project. So how do you feel? We'll do some more Q&A. There's only a few comments in chat, and then we'll get to know you if you're still willing to keep going here.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
All right. All right. So we've got Personal Jesus again, or Pulse Jesus. Sorry, that's an awesome song, Personal Jesus. But
It is a good song.
thank you guys. Appreciate you on vacation. Beautiful. Also, I don't know what the XR or XLR8 yield compound is.
Accelerate.
Accelerate. Okay.
Accelerate. Yep.
All right. Because
It's
when I
like
see
energy, right?
XLR8, I think of a Mazda. I'm like, is this a car? So, all right.
I'd like to buy a
Accelerate
valve
yield
for
compound.
200, please.
Yes, Alex. All right. David, rumor has it Rain Man calls Top Gun when he gets stuck on an equation. Oh God. Oh God. You guys would love the fact that when I was 8 years old, I learned bed math. I was 10, I think, or 11 when my aunt got remarried, and at their wedding thing, that was the first time I found blackjack. I was 11, but I was the kid at a wedding. Nobody
Oh
cared. It was a
boy.
small gathering, so they let me play. It was $2 a bet. Of course, they kind of kicked me off the table when I was up a couple hundred, and I only sat down with $6. So, um, yeah, I know. No, Rayman and I get along. It's great, you know.
That's
Thanks, David.
hilarious.
All right, 2017 was crazy, but I have a feeling 2022 plus will be 100x crazier. Yeah, there's a huge bear market crash coming because the whole stock market is crumbling. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want this video to get algorithmically suppressed because I will get into a rant going after Mr. Powell. If I just say things wrong, the algorithm might not catch me. The pandemic, that place where we all locked into our homes. I just gotta watch the keywords. All right, then what is that?
Red
AI?
squirrel. Oi, oi.
Oi, 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 oi. See, this is great. I got somebody help me interpret internet slang. I struggled so poorly with
Oh,
this.
Red Squirrel's got so many strategies and so many ways of connecting. Basically, he has come up with a master diagram you need a microscope to look at because he has connected practically everything that's launching on Pulse Chain into some way that you can then leverage it back into your Liquid Loans vault to get more Pulse, basically. And it's creative, let's just say. Yeah.
Okay, Red, I got you on Telegram. I'm just going to start spamming you with StreamYard invites every time I go live. I want to see this Venn diagram, sir, Mr. Squirrely Man. You better get on my channel. All right. Do you need watt tokens for the compounder function? CN, that is a good question.
That is a good question. We're nailing down the details this right now. Right now, I don't believe so, but we're working on whether or not having watt staked makes a difference at all. So
All right.
we'll get back to you on that.
Oh, same question again. All right. And then Craig calling out squirrel. Beautiful. We got some back love. All right. Power City, good peeps. Seems like, eh? And Killa Burns. Hi, lads. Interesting conversation. Just catching up, but can you give me the pitfalls of the haunted strategy? I apologize. I know you spoke earlier. Hi, I'm from oh, sorry. Hello, like tip up with the. Oh, hi, lads. Interesting conversation. Just catching up, but can you give me the pitfalls of the haunted strategy? Apologies. I know you spoke earlier. Hi, I'm from Ireland. There you go, Killer Burns.
Much better. Much better.
There we go. All right. Yeah.
Pitfalls, like obviously, using leverage is a very powerful tool, and like any powerful tool, like a table saw, it can be used for good or bad, right? You can get yourself ultra mega wrecked with a power tool. You can build amazing things with a power tool, and if you treat it with respect and you learn how to use it properly, it can be an amazingly powerful thing to build your portfolio and to give you access to other things. But if you don't know what you're doing, okay, please do your research. If you go to Liquid Loans Telegram, there's a lot of folks who will walk you through exactly what's going on and how to properly use it. There's a lot of online content that they've created, YouTube videos, just to talk about how to properly and responsibly use leverage. So don't get yourself wrecked, please.
Very, very important. These tools are very powerful, as they can very much wreck you. So yeah. Also, Haunted gets around in a lot of conversations. You may be even able to ask him. Also, there are several videos on his strategy. I have to do another one because my last one, I took some bad assumptions and made his strategy look like crap. It's not. At least, like, the strategy works perfectly well for lining your own bags, but the concept of how much it's going to pump the pulse price, that was what we went and looked at on the strategy, and it didn't look so hot the way I projected it. But then when I got to look at testnet, I went, oh, I was wrong about my assumptions yet again, because they're assumptions.
Yeah, it depends on where the liquidity is, what the liquidity is paired with, and so on and so forth, right? So there's some interesting angles on that, definitely. And I don't want to make it sound like Liquid Loans will wreck anybody. It's more of just know what you're getting into, right? Of all the leverage platforms, it is the bet. It doesn't charge interest, and even if you do get liquidated, you already have the stable coin, so you do have some value there. So just do your research, understand it first. But when we put these tools to use, and the nice thing is, through the auto compounder, it will have all the rules built in that either you set the values or we'll use some standards. It'll do it automatically for you, and you don't have to worry about, oh, should I be compounding now or not? Should I wait? Should the price have to go high enough? It'll do all that for you and let it run, right? And you can exit at any time if you want. But the idea is that it takes a lot of the work off your shoulders, having to worry about, are you calculating it right?
Beautiful. Beautiful. I do love the fact that you guys are making a front end for that, because that was one thing I was harping on it, and he didn't even tell me you guys were doing a front end. I'm just, hey, buddy, you realize you're a general now. You've got to guide this strategy or people are going to get themselves wrecked. And it's, oh, there's a front end. He didn't even say that. He's just laughing at me and talking like, Haunted, I hope you're watching this now that you've woken up. Shame on you. You need to tell me these facts, man. So, Craig, thank you again. Interesting days ahead for sure. Motley Investor. Hey, Top Gun.
Hey.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. I gotta admit, I cannot believe the love and support I get around from the community here. And Bristology, Top Gun has the smoothest voice in Pulse Shane. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Motley Investor call out from Red Squirrel. And so, Chris, we're done with that. So let's take a break from questions and let's get to know the long vacation. All right. So let's see here. I had some questions queued up just to start. There we go. Let's get to know the long vacation. Some starters. What was your childhood like? Were you always a nerd? And who was your first crush? Come on, let's break the ice.
I guess by definition, I am a nerd, but I'll own up to it. I do geek out on trying to like solve complex problems, break things down into little pieces, and try to find ways to make things fit together in different ways. Childhood, I grew up in a poor family, right? A lot of people like to say that, but I mean, it was very meager. Family worked hard. Parents got divorced at some point, and everyone was working jobs to pay the bills at some point, right? And so in high school, here I am working 2 jobs and mowing lawns. My brother's working 2 jobs, my mother's working 2 jobs, and we're all trying to pay the bills just to get it done. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And not to say woe is me, but more of those were character building years to learn appreciation for hard work, learn appreciation for hard earned money, and to not be afraid of putting some sweat equity into something, right? And I look back now and I very much appreciate, I didn't quite appreciate it then, but I appreciate it now for what it then allowed me to learn over the years and be able to do over the years. I was blessed with the ability to get a scholarship, paid college, right? So I was able to get a grant for college, which allowed me to get an education, and then from there, I was very fortunate to get my first career into private banking and corporate finance, and basically have worked in that until I retired last November. So 25 years worked in project management and systems design, software design for private banking. So these are high net worth individuals who have complex finances, who have the same problems that we have to solve, just on a broader, grander, and more complicated scale, right? And a lot of people love to say that, hey, if I had $10 million, life would be so much better. I'd say maybe in some ways, but other ways it's a lot more headaches, because there's a lot more work in managing a larger portfolio and preparing for generational wealth. How do you make sure that those future generations not only have things structured in a way that will benefit them long term, but also educating those future generations to be able to know what to do with it, right? Because they weren't the ones who earned it, so they don't have that knowledge going into it, right? So there's a lot of interesting challenges to solve there.
Okay. Beautiful. Again, you've gone into interesting challenges to solve from the let's get to know you. I love it. So let's steer it back another direction. So, you suppose you were a nerd. Let's do some pop questions. What does the T stand for in James T. Kirk?
Tiberius.
All right. What planet did Luke grow up on?
Tatooine.
Not a nerd. I love it. I love it. All right, so let's try this another way. So the game Marry F Kill, right?
Oh gosh, right. Okay.
So Star Wars, Star Trek, and Babylon 5.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. I'm actually probably gonna have to say Star Trek. I'm surprised I would have said that. I would have said Star Wars in the past, but I like a lot of the new Star Trek content that's coming out. We're back in another renaissance of Star Trek series, which it goes in these hot and cold periods, and we were in a kind of a winter for a while, but now we have like 4 or 5 seasons, different series going on. So,
oh yeah, no, that's awesome. That is awesome. Like, I mean, personally, Picard right now. Like, what do you love about Star Trek Next Generation? A wise old turtle, Q, the Borg. What do you got for me? All of the above, plus Romulans. Sweet. I'm in. So yeah, all right. So yeah, perfect, man. This has been awesome having you on. This is we're plowing into this. I have been leading the conversation. Obviously, I'm interviewing. I'm the host. But this is the point where, all right, you have put up with all of my questions. You've let me lead you around the little rat maze here, and let me hit you with a bunch of sarcasm. At this point, what have I not covered? Is there anything you want to, say to the viewers to introduce yourself? Is there anything more you want to cover about Power City? Is there just anything you want to spitball about, or who knows? Maybe there's been something bugging you about your local politics, and you want to harp on your local governor. I don't know. The floor is yours, sir.
I will respectfully bow out of any political discussions. But no, I think we covered a lot of what we're doing. Obviously, I can talk about the core itself, for hours because of the complexities and the depth, right? It seems very simple on the surface, but what can be achieved with this rather simple concept, I think, is simply amazing, right? That the scope of it's going to be really interesting once we can really start diving in and explaining and walking people through the different capabilities, right? The whole, what's this whole concept called a buyback bond, which will we're going to get into some really interesting things with it. And I think once you start seeing the strategies on how you can put these things to work and leverage them and really be able to use it throughout the ecosystem, and then how all the things will start connecting, I think people will start really, really understanding where we're trying to go with it. So, we really appreciate and are humbled by the support that we've gotten in the community. We're working extremely hard to get things built as quickly as possible. And, and everyone keeps hearing software is hard. It takes time. It always takes longer than you think. That's just the reality of it. But, we will definitely keep everyone up to date as we get through our testing, internal testing. When we start our audit process, we'll publish the audits when they're done and, make public test nets available and, keep everyone up to date on that. So just check us out at t.me/PowerCityIO is our Telegram. You can check out the website at powercity.io. And, let us know if you have any questions. We're always in the Telegram. Always check into Discord. You can always hit us up on Twitter and just let us know if you want to know more about what we're doing. If you have an idea that you'd love to see, incorporated into Power City, or something unique you want to do with an NFT, you want to talk to us or whatever, hey, hit us up and we'd love to hear, right? So we're also going to be picking the next round of Milestone bonus winners. I need to post some announcements for that in Telegram. We're going to do that tomorrow night in Telegram. So we'll have that done as soon as well. So a lot of reasons to check us out and go from there. So, but most important is to like, subscribe, and hit the ding so that you get notifications, right? Can't hear you.
Hello?
There you go.
So sorry. Hextech 16 looks like they're looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. Is this referring to PulseCon in September?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. So in September, we will be in Las Vegas holding a special party at the Backstage Bar and Billiards with DJ Lethal and Sid from Slipknot and a special guest. We will, it'll be a separate party with some of our How to Pulse friends. We're going to have a boxable casita set up in the back patio, and we're going to have some awesome music and a chance to learn more about what Power City is doing. And, if you happen to go to PulseCon during the time, you can come down after hours and come hang out and have a nice, affordable Pulse party, with us downtown on Fremont Street. So tickets will go on sale hopefully very, very soon. We're trying to lock everything down when we'll be able to make the announcement of who our special guest is. Looking forward to that.
Wow.
But going to be a big party, and we want everyone to come and just have some fun.
Okay. Yeah, I want one of these tickets. I didn't get a chance to buy one for PulseCon. I want one of these. Sweet.
Let's just say it'll be slightly more affordable.
Slipknot. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Man, you are the awesomest kind of nerd. Slipknot and Star Trek. We got to hang out more often. All right. plsx. Sup, fools? Not much. Killer Burns. Well, I got to tell you, it's been a little while since I've done an Irish accent, okay? So about 5 tenths on it. You could just say 50%. And at merit and waiting in a big dit to start the haunted strategy. After this chart, after this chart, you have 100 new sacrifices. This is foundational stuff. Yeah, building here. Well done. Well, I gotta say, I've practiced my accent for a long time. As I was very young, I started listening to EastEnders when I was growing up. So there's a lot of good stuff in there. But I gotta say that I do prefer the good Scottish accent. There's nothing like a good haggis. And I've actually done a caper toast. I'm not even joking. That's something I did a long time ago. You gotta get that log just right. And then I almost buckled my knees. It was great.
Not bad, not bad. I think the challenge with waiting for a dip just on the haunted strategy is, there's no guarantee you're going to get it, right? I mean, you definitely can choose to wait when you're going to exit or enter the process by all means, but it's just you're taking a gamble on missing an opportunity. So just know that you might have to get through a pump before you get the dump to get in to start the process, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, who knows?
Okay. And then Red Squirrel, thank you, my furry little friend from Gen X. All right. I really gotta get Red Squirrel on like a AMA at least to get talking with
For
him. Personal Jesus and just calling out the fact that I was talking. Thank you. This is the thing about being delayed getting through these comments. This is beautiful. We have capped out as high as like 35 or 37 viewers at any given point. We've probably gotten a few hundred through this video. This has been making me happy that a couple hundred people have been watching these altcoin videos during the live stream and actually getting some information. And I appreciate you coming on and teaching me and my audience about so many cool facts about your project.
It's been a pleasure. This has been a great time, and I look forward to another session. We'll bring in Toshi. He can walk through Pixel Park in more detail and about what Boxable is doing and some of the exciting stuff that they have lined up. So definitely appreciate the time.
Beautiful. And I'll even give you more time on the core if you really want, since you love that little thing. It's not so little. All right. So I think that pretty much covers this up. Motley Investor wanted to say that, this is the long vacation. So he's like, what's up, dude? I might have skipped over that. And all right. So that does take us through all of the comments. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is the point where I'll remind you again of my social media. You can find me on TikTok, even Top Gun Hexadian. I only have one. Top Gun Hexadian at Twitter and my Telegram. This is a channel where you cannot type. You can see notifications, but if you check the pins, if you actually put in a little extra work, you can find the group where we communicate and share ideas. So you want to shout out your socials one more time before we wrap this up?
Sure. t.me/PowerCityIO. On Twitter, it's PowerCityIO, and on the website is PowerCity.io.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Thank you, folks, so much for tuning in. I've got just a few more comments here. All right. Just a motley. Wow, people, now you're pouring in the comments. Now I'm trying to end the stream. It's like, but wait. What's up, Top Gun? Hardest working streamer in Hex community right now. Wow. I mean, does that mean I'm making the most videos or something? I don't know if the content's that great, though. All right. Awesome stream. Thank you, guys. Increase your base. Wait for me to increase my base? You guys realize I go with a fully functional. I was going to joke about I could have a buzzer ready to play, folks. Like, I've got cute sounds and laughter. Yeah, like I have all this stuff ready. I just choose not to use it. I was gonna joke and be like, all right, we're doing the speed round dating here, and if you don't answer, I'm gonna hit you with a buzzer. And you just joke, yeah, right. And then I was gonna slam the buzzer, but I thought, no, I'm not that cruel yet.
Yet. Next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. So yeah, all right. Top Gun is Train Spotting. Okay. I haven't even seen that movie in full in a long time.
Oh, wow.
All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you guys for all the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, the long vacation. I'm just going to start calling you LV or something shorter. Got to give it a nickname or something. But all right. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on to the channel. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. And till we see you next time. Take care, folks.
Thanks.